Good evening and welcome to this week's live stream for Traveling on Everyday Spend. Want to kind of get a couple of announcements out of the way. I did put a post out earlier this week thanking everybody because we hit an initial milestone. We have over 100 subscribers. It's definitely not something I take lightly, and want to thank each and every person that has trusted to subscribe, and will work extremely hard to continue to provide you valuable information in regards to points and miles and finance or anything else we can do. Um, and of course, want to thank any and everybody that has liked and shared the videos. It's really helped the channel a lot. And if you haven't had subscribed or to date, please consider it. If you're getting information that is beneficial, it really would mean a lot. So thank you so much. Well, as I always say, I want to be respectful of you and your time, so we will go ahead and get started. Let's see here. Got a few items to cover for today. We're going to talk about credit card offers like we normally start off. Touch on April transfer bonuses for the credit cards. We'll also talk about the promotion that Chase has with co-branded cards currently. An Avianca sale that's worth talking about. Even though it's for actual cash, it is a very good sale to at least consider. And we're going to talk about a couple of status matches. One that's been ongoing for Virgin that I just kind of stumbled onto. And then British Airways has a status match that just started that is interesting. We're going to talk a little bit about what's in my wallet. I've had to really change up the entire strategy for this year and want to share that with you all. And then lastly, we're going to talk about some credit cards with Chase that have a very unique multiplier that may be something that you might be missing in your wallet at this point. So let's go ahead and get started. So topic one, we're going to talk about the credit card offers. Not a whole lot of changes still. The Hilton credit cards are going to be ending in the next few days. Definitely talked about that in the March 14th live stream. So I'll definitely attach a link to that with the recorded content for tonight. It may be something that will fit. Hotel cards I don't normally think are an early game. It's kind of almost a mid game once you've kind of accumulated and have your cards that are generating those flexible points of American Express membership rewards and Chase Ultimate rewards, Citi thank you points, and Capital One miles. Once you've got those starting to build, then you can kind of look to put in some hotel credit cards if that's kind of what you're looking at. The Marriott cards also are coming to an end in the next couple of weeks. Definitely did a deep dive on that back in March on both Chase and American Express, but Chase has already ended. American Express is still doing theirs. Some very good offers to consider, especially if in the case where you're getting enough points or night certificates in that you feel like you might be able to use for a trip this year or within the next 12 months. That would be something that may be worth considering a little bit of off schedule if that's something that would fit for a plan of yours. I also included the American Express Platinum and Gold because right now the Platinum, if you just look normally, is an 80,000 points for $8,000 worth to spend in 6 months, which is okay. But I from time to time just go into the private screen or the incognito, depending upon what browser you're using. And I was the first time I did it, I came up with 150,000 points for the Platinum and 90 versus 60,000 on the Gold. So definitely, if you are just browsing and you're considering either of the two, and you look and you're only seeing the 60 and the 80, consider the incognito or private screen and see if you might see a different number for that. Those are some very good numbers, but you definitely have to keep in mind as far as how the American Express is now treating these cards, where you have to go in order to get the bonuses on each of them. But we talked about that a while back, and it's always something we can touch on and talk about again. Chase has the credit card offers limited time on the Aer Lingus, British Airways, and Iberia credit cards that use Avios, and that will be something we will talk a little bit on a little bit later in this live stream. And then as far as Citi, same two offers that have been kind of this standing there for a bit. The custom cash with the special travel offer, as far as 5% on your statement's highest category, which is the normal, but the extra 4% on the hotel, car rentals, and attractions that you do through the Citi travel portal through June 30th to 25 could be a good card for a good travel card, mid-tier or to low to mid-tier card to consider to generate some points on that at 5 points. And then, of course, the platinum card for the American Airlines. We've talked about that, and that was on the March 20th live stream, which I'll put a link to at the end of this. But not too many other credit card, nothing too new that we're seeing. As far as the April transfer bonuses, we're about midway through the month. We want to make sure that if you are looking to convert any points of those flexible points, that you definitely know what is available out there. And of course, we don't convert transfer the flexible points unless we have a specific plan of how we're going to use that. So right now we have Chase with the Air France and KLM Flying Blue 25%. We talked about that as far as with the promo that in last week's live stream of being able to get even more mileage out of a very good monthly promo of economy flying to Europe especially. But that'll run through April 30th of 2024. We also have Capital One with the Virgin Red that runs through April 30th of 24. And Citi, we're coming to the last couple of days of the Avianca Life Miles at 30%. I think, as I've told you all on these before, none of these are groundbreaking. If you do have something that you need those points for, and you know you're putting your plan for a trip together in the short term, then it may be something worth considering. But outside of that, not anything worth speculating on. Topic 3 is on something I came across. I didn't necessarily see this, and my wife and I have a couple of some Chase credit cards. So they have a spending bonus potentially for you if you have co-branded Chase credit cards. So that would include Disney, Hyatt, IHG, Marriott, Bonvoy, Southwest, and United. And it's a very simple thing to look at. All you end up doing is there's a link to be able to go into that I'll attach as well at the end of this. And you just put in your last 4 digits of your credit card, your last name, and your your zip code. And it will tell you if you are eligible for any of these targeted offers. The best targeted offer clearly is getting 5x to 7x points on gas stations, grocery stores, and home improvement stores. I and other card holders have been targeted for $25 to $35 off of HBO Max. We have an IHG business card as well as the personal Hyatt credit card. Tried them both, and unfortunately, I got the HBO Max, which I have no interest in. There's not been a rhyme or reason of exactly who gets those better offers. It may be people that use those cards much more, which would make some sense. And I don't use those. We don't use those cards. It's as you can imagine, when you're having a hotel or an airline card, the best thing to be using it for is just for that hotel or airline, unless you are trying to deal with an intro bonus and have to spend more on it. So I think that we may be seeing more of those type of people getting those, but I was not lucky enough to get one of those, but I will definitely put up the link in the pinned comment at the end of this, and you can be able to take a look for yourself if you have any of those co-branded cards. If you do get targeted and want to take advantage of it, make sure to know that you have to register, and it's limited to $1,000 in spending through June 30th. So there is a limitation to it, but it could be a nice way to pick up some extra points, especially if it's um, in a mile or point that would be beneficial to you. And so the next item we're looking at, there's an Avianca sale that is very interesting, and it's not one that I've seen before. I've kind of looked around to see if there was any other comments on it, but the ground rules as far as this Avianca sale. Flying from the United States to either Central America, Colombia, Ecuador, or El Salvador. Must book by April 14th. Sorry for the short notice. I just came across this. It's eligible for travel dates through March 27th of 2025, though, that's the first plus. A lot of times we see these type of sales where they're for a very short window, maybe 2 to 3 months. But this one is all the way through March. And that is something if you're looking to go into Central America or those different countries. They've got nonstop routes from a lot of locations spread throughout the United States. And I list them here: Boston, Dallas, Fort Lauderdale, Houston, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Miami, New York, Oakland, Ontario, Orlando, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. It is as low as $49 one way in economy, which is a ridiculous price if you are looking to really maximize any spend that you have to do and you're looking to vacation or going there. So as far as some of the facts, if you've not heard about Avianca, I've talked about them sometimes as a transfer partner. Flag carrier of the country of Colombia. It's one of the largest airlines in Latin America. They serve 150 destinations in the Americas, Caribbean, and Europe. And they basically utilize Airbus 320s and Dreamliners, Boeing 787s. I've not flown on one of Avianca's planes. I've not read anything that has been negative about it to be concerned about. So, if it's something new to you, definitely do some exploration. But I think that they have a very good reputation, and it's something worth considering if you're looking at that. Once again, this is based upon cash spending. It's not something for points and miles. And so because of that, make sure that if you do consider this, that you're using a credit card that's best for airline purchases. And so if you've got the American Express Platinum and can get 5X because you're doing it directly through Avianca's website, this is not through a third party. So going through a portal will not necessarily benefit you of being able to get these very low prices. So that's why I start off with the American Express Platinum, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, and then at that point, because I think it's 3X for the Chase Sapphire Reserve. But I think that once you get beyond that, you're probably looking at a lot of catch-all cards, 2 points, whether it's the Venture X or whether it is the Citi Double Cash or the American Express Blue Business Plus. But before you make any purchases, definitely check the cards that you have in your wallet and see what works best for airline purchases. I will show you a little bit I did go through this a little earlier today and was a bit surprised on how easy it was to really maneuver around their site. So let me share. And so this is what it looks like. It's just avianca.com. And what I did was just, now you're going to see on here that it's talking about to say hurry and buy until April 14th. Now, I know I mentioned March. I went ahead and tried a couple of dates in March to make sure that date that I'm giving is correct. and I am still seeing those same prices. So let's take an example, and because this is a little bit different. So let's say you're going from Miami to Bogota, Colombia. And let's go ahead and make this for, so as soon as you can see when you're going into the departures, you see this is all color coded. So green being the lowest prices, yellow mid-tier, and red being more of the higher price. I've not seen that necessarily on somebody's website, and it really does make it very easy to be able to look at dates right off the bat versus being on some sites where you have to go in and out a lot of times or stretch a weekly calendar. So I really do like that about this website. So I went to March here. Let me get here to March and let the colors kind of come back in. Let's see, it's moving a little slow. So let me just go ahead and make it for, let's take March 4th. Oh, let me take this to make it one way. So I made it for March 4th of 2025. And still trying to check it. And let's go to this. And we're seeing $107.30. But if we go back to the calendar again, I apologize. Let's go and let's see if we can get that color coding. There we go. So now let's make sure we pick one that's in green and one adult and do a search. And let's see how that looks. We got 107 there. But I think that if I go back a little bit, let's go to February of 2025. Bear with me a second. Let's see what we come up with. So we're at $107, but I've seen some of them get as low as in the 60s. And as you can see here on this weekly calendar that's up here, that, let me look at best price. So we're getting $107 on here. This may have changed a bit. I looked at this a little earlier today. Now, keep in mind, there's only a limited number of tickets and seats that are available. So it's not a matter of you being able to go whenever you want to and be able to get that price. And I think that's what's happening, because I looked at this a little bit earlier today and was finding tickets at $69 one way. So definitely maneuver around this if you have interest in it. I think you might be able to find some good deals on it. The one thing I do want to make sure that you're aware of is that low price is considered basic under Avianca. And when you do basic, you have to pay for a lot of things. So for instance, here we're looking at $107.30 for here, and you do get one personal bag, but you don't get another carry-on. You don't get check bags included. You don't have, you're not supposed to check in through the airport. Your seats are not selected. You got to pay for that. You also need to, any kind of cancellations and refunds, none of it's included. So that is the one downside of this sale. If for that very low price, you do lose some protections, and you do need to be aware of it. And that's why they recommend the classic, which could be, in this case, because of the sale, it could be almost double the price of that $49, $50, $60, $70 purchase. So temper things with your choices and look for those best prices. But they are out there into March, but a lot of that's probably starting to go away now. So keep an eye on things, take a look at it. there may be some benefits to you, but be careful. I just wanted to make sure to kind of show you all that quickly to make sure that you just didn't end up picking a ticket because it was the cheapest without knowing that there are some risk of picking the basic price. So I'm hopeful that can be of help. Let's get to here and go back to that. So that's the main thing I want to mention about the Avianca sale. It may be something for some people. Just be careful in regards to it. And then the status matching. So the Virgin Atlantic Flying Club I guess it's had an ongoing status match. I just hadn't heard about it. And so, as I mentioned in there, it's ongoing that you can become part of an instant gold member based on your status that you have with another airline, and that you're required to take a future flight booked with Virgin Atlantic in either business business class or first class, I believe. I think I've got that as an error of premium economy. Or you can become an instant silver member based on your status in a future flight in any class. So actually, I'm right as far as the business class or premium economy. The required flight can be either a revenue based where you're paying for it, or it can be an award flight. So that gives some good flexibility. The flight just has to be marketed by Virgin Atlantic. So it can be operated by another airline, but it has to be one that they market. And then upon approval, what happens is you'll get status, but it will only be given to you 72 hours prior to a qualifying flight that you have to take. So let's say that you send in your paperwork today, and 72 hours later, then you find out in a few days that yes, you're approved for gold status with Flying Club, but you're not going to fly until September. So you won't actually get the status awarded to you until 72 hours before your actual flight. Not sure of why they're doing that, but that is something to be aware of. You'll know that you got the status, but it just won't be granted to you until you do that first qualifying flight. And another part that was interesting about it is that if for some reason you cancel that flight, your status is revoked and you lose that. I don't know why they're being so stringent on that, because the reality is if you're canceling it, then you have not met the threshold to get the status to use. But that is something to be aware of. And then if you're not part of the Flying Club, you need to join it. And then as far as those, when those requirements are completed, you have the status for 12 months. And as far as maintaining status for silver, it's 400 tier points each year, while to maintain gold status, it requires 1,000 tier points each year. As far as some thoughts, they're part of SkyTeam. And so Flying Club Gold status will get you SkyTeam Elite Plus status, which is the top tier for SkyTeam. So I want to provide you a little bit of information on that that may be helpful. So there's only 2 tiers with SkyTeam, either Elite or Elite Plus. And a lot of them are similar as far as what they're doing: priority on wait list and on standby, extra baggage allowance, as far as whether with how much weight it could be or the number of pieces, depending upon that airline system. Baggage priority handling, preferred and pre-reserved seating benefit. And a lot of that just kind of comes with exit rows or being able, or may be applicable to companions on the same flight. Because each of these airlines are so different, there is not one universal benefit that they list down for that. So something to keep in mind in regards to looking at SkyTeam status. Let me actually go back to, got a comment from Mr. Cool. Flew Avianca and the carry-ons were small, reminding me of the European budget airlines. I have heard that. As I mentioned, I have not had the opportunity to fly Avianca, although I must admit I was kind of looking at some of those pricing and because it was out so far, but that's very helpful in regards to if for others that have not flown Avianca, and especially, and I've not had the opportunity to fly European budget airlines. I haven't been to Europe yet, so that's still on the bucket list to be able to do. So thank you so much for sharing, Mr. Cool. So as far as the Sky Team status, the biggest difference I see is being Elite Plus gets you business lounge access. Now, I put an exception in there, which is one that I did not know about, which is if you got your Sky Team status through Delta Sky Miles, you don't get the same benefits of being able to utilize the Delta Sky Club, regardless of what class you're in, as far as what the economy or premium economy or such. So there's a lot of idiosyncrasies depending upon the airline of how you got the status. So keep some things in mind. SkyTeam's tier status is not the most well regarded out of One World, SkyTeam, and Star Alliance. So I just put that out there because I wanted people to just at least have an idea. I'm not a person that has status with any of the airlines. It's not something that's nearly been something I've been really interested in. But I know that there are a lot of people that do value it because they do have a lot of flights. So definitely something to be considering. And so here's the list of the airlines that are frequent flyer programs that can be matched. And so I've listed them down here. And when I say second tier, that would be the tier that would get you allow you to match to silver with Flying Club. And then the top tier is what would allow you to fly, be part of the gold. So I will obviously have this in the recording for you to be able to look at, but that is the breakdown of the eligible airlines that come into play with it. So it's an ongoing, so I'll have a link for this after the show as well, and give you a chance to be able to look at it. There's no end date on it. It's ongoing. So if it's something you're interested in, take some time, take a look at it and see if there might be some usefulness in your particular situation. Now, topic 6 is the British Airways status match. And this one is new. It is exclusive for people that are living in the United States and Canada. And you're going to be able to status match from multiple airlines. Of course, you got to make sure you're initially a member of the executive club. And you need to apply online by May 7th of 2024. I'll have a link for that as well at the end of the show. And you'll just complete some paperwork, upload proof of your current airline status. The application, they say, will be reviewed within 5 business days. And then once approved, you have an upgrade for 6 months. Now, in order to extend that past the first 6 months, you need to take one transatlantic flight from the United States or Canada. It must be marketed by British Airways, and it must be in first or business class, which is not surprising since you're basically status matching to the upper tier options for British Airways. So must be operated by British Airways, American Airlines, Iberia, or Finnair. So those are the ones that you're restricted to. You have to originate out of the United States, Canada, or Mexico, and you have to land in Europe, Norway, or Switzerland. You must be eligible for earning tier points and collecting Avios with that purchase. So it can't, I don't think that's going to be a problem when you're getting first or business class, but something to be aware of as far as the small print. As far as thoughts, the requirement to fly transatlantic can be costly because you're paying surcharges. And so if you're flying business or first class, you very well could be spending, especially if you're landing in Europe and let alone London, you could probably be somewhere around $500–600 one way for that. So it's definitely something to make sure to pay attention to. But if it does work where you're already going or considering going, then you unlock an additional 6 months. And the big thing is not so much British Airways here, but that One World Sapphire. Um, so you basically can go to One World Sapphire or One World Emerald. And if you're on One World Sapphire, one of the things that I saw was that if when you're doing it through a non-US program, such as British Airways, that it could allow you to access the American Admirals Club or American's flagship lounge when you're even flying domestically on One World Airline. If you did this through a US airline, then your domestic flights would not count. So that is a nice bonus potentially if this is something that you're interested in. And if you're Emerald, you can include Qantas first class at LAX and American Airlines flagship first check-in. Now, the Qantas first class at LAX is something I've been looking at because that is where my wife and I are going to fly out of for our bucket list trip during the holidays in the winter. I've read at least that it's one of the most exclusive first class lounges in the United States. And part of that is because of either flying first class or having Emerald status through this program. So definitely something to consider. You do have time, so there's no rush in regards to it to look at the information. And like I said, I'll make sure to have a link for that at the end of the show. And so once again, I put some notes here for Sapphire. There is a Ruby, but this won't help with the Ruby, and that's the initial status. And then you have Sapphire and Emerald. The biggest thing is the lounge. So even in Sapphire, where we saw that the second best one for SkyTeam didn't even give you lounge access. For One World, the second highest status will get you into the business lounge access for One World, and you're allowed to bring one guest with you. And then, of course, Emerald will get you into first class as well as business class lounges, with also bringing one person. A lot of the other things of baggage and priority check-in, those things normally come standard anyway when you're on that tier. So something just to keep in mind. May 7th, like I said, I'll have a link for that at the end of the show. And here's the airlines that come with the British Airways matching. And what you're going to see is that you do get Delta on there as well as United. So we're getting some of the ones, at least for people that are here in North America, that might more people that would have the status that would allow you to qualify for it. So definitely something to look at on this. There's definitely some options. And then I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to touch a little bit about what's in my wallet. And as I've talked about, I had to spend, my wife and I had to spend a lot of miles and points for this trip to Australia. Thankful because it was to be able to spend, I think we're somewhere around 800,000 points in miles, and that's mixed between the flexible ones from Chase, American Express, City, and Capital One, as well as Hyatt points that we already had, plus converted some Chase points to it. But it literally drained all of our flexible points. Still have some points through American and Delta and for Alaska Air, but the main points that you really want to have, we're out. So it's completely changed on how we need to look at going forward of trying to slowly but surely build this back again. And I say slowly but surely because of the fact that when you're only using your spend on credit cards, they can accumulate, but it does take time. It's really those intro bonuses that get you the big level up. And I'm not really sure how many new cards I'll be looking at either of us getting this year. So this is really more of just kind of realigning of slowly but surely building up the points again in those Capital One and Chase and Citi and American Express to just kind of start rebuilding those. And so just wanted to kind of share a little bit with that. So the cards in my wallet are the start off with the Freedom Unlimited card. And the main reason for that one is 3x on dining and on drugstores. But we got this card when they were doing a promotion where they would double your cash back for 1 year with no limit. So we're looking at getting 6x on dining and 6x on drugstores. So the focus is on those for the card. Now it also can be a 3%, a 3x catch-all, which is good. But that'll be a mix of trying to do that, mainly because, like I said, I want to diversify our points, so to give us some better options going forward. Then of course you've got the Built credit card to look at, and that is solely for rent day, and that is really going to be for the 2x catch-all, maybe to pay some utilities, and I want to kind of build up points and status with Built because they had such great point redemptions for the last few months. Now, last month they didn't have one of those really good travel transfer redemptions, so I don't know if we're going to start turning left on this or if that was just a one-time thing. So I'm going to be a little bit slow to spend on the Built until I can see that they're doing it again. Because while I do like the Built card, that possible bonus of redemptions when they were at 75, 100, and 125% is gold. I mean, it's really a big deal, especially when we were just talking about KLM flying blue at 25% and Avianca at 30%. So that's why I will hold on to potentially using the Built card, but we'll learn a lot more over the next month or two. Then the Capital One Venture X, once again, more of a 2x catch-all card, to kind of diversify the numbers. The Delta Sky Miles Platinum Gold. I'm sorry, Platinum. I actually canceled my Delta Sky Miles Gold card and went ahead and applied for the silver, for the Platinum. And the main reason I did that was I did that one a little bit too quick, unfortunately, I have to admit. When I was really scrambling around, once I got the Australia hotel secured and then try to look at how to fly there, I thought that Delta was going to probably be one of my better options, at least for part of it. Even the domestic flying from where I live to LAX and maybe elsewhere. And so they had a promotion on this to get to 100,000 Delta Sky Miles. And in hindsight, probably wasn't the best choice, but I was really kind of scrambling. And so that becomes kind of the penalty of this. So I've got an intro bonus that I need to spend on. It's a $6,000 in 6 months. So that's always the benefit of American Express compared to like a Chase and other credit card issuers. You normally only get 3 months to be able to get to your point, to get to your intro. Having 6 months really helps to really not have to stress yourself out on the spend. So that's something I still need to be able to do, but at least I've got 6 months to do it. The American Express Gold Card, that, as you can imagine, groceries. That's the grocery card at 4%. And then lastly, I'm considering the Chase Ink Business. We do have a couple of those. And the main reason for that is because you can get 5 points for purchases at office supply stores. And I kind of hinted on this, but I didn't really want to say it in the video at that time because I don't want to bring any bad look on things, but it's a live stream, so we'll be okay on this one. You can get 5x on purchases made at office supply stores. Well, office supply stores have gift cards, and so there was a time that I would normally go to the Office Max or the Staples and buy a good number of gift cards. And now the one thing you have to make sure of when you're doing it is when you're buying a Visa or a MasterCard gift card, there's normally a fee attached to it, but they run promotions almost every other week, seemingly, where they're waiving that fee. And thus, that's when I would get those gift cards. And if your utilities or if your insurance companies and such allow those, because sometimes I do have problems with a couple of utilities where I can't use a gift card, but where you can use those, you're getting 5x, and you're doing it on your cable, your internet, or your phone, or whatever it may be. Those things that you might only be able to get 2x on, you could get 5x on those. Now, the internet and cable, I shouldn't say that, because that credit card will get you 5x on those. But it's all those other purchases, utilities and things that you may not have those kind of points on. So I have to kind of think that through to determining it. And Mr. Coco came with another one. Richard Chris said on a pod that very interesting promos are going to happen with Alaska later on during the year with Bill. I hope so. I've racked up some points with Alaska Airlines. I still have a companion pass to spend on it. So I was feeling like they probably would, but I had not heard a good time frame. So I appreciate you sharing it. Figuring with Alaska coming in, American going out, coming in with a splash would be good. So thanks for sharing that. And I see you shared, point stacking. It's anything that you're able to do to be able to maximize these points, because there's going to be times where there is either not a card that you're wanting, or that you're not in a good position to deal with the intro bonus. Or there could be a lot of different other things. So whether it is that kind of thing of the gift cards, or whether you're definitely using the portals for Rakuten or Capital One Shopping, using your Chase offers, it takes time. It's not always the easiest thing to be able to do, but it's so worth it to be able to try to do that, especially when you're not in a position or at the right time to deal with intro bonuses. So definitely great ideas, and thanks again for those suggestions, Mr. Coco, and the information on, especially on that built. So topic 8, I wanted to touch on is a credit card promotion that is going on right now, and it is very different than ones that I normally see. And this is going to be 5X category related to Aer Lingus, British Airways, and Iberia. So let's take a look at that. So what is going on? So there's a limited time offer with those 3 credit cards. They're all through Chase. And the intro offer is 75,000 Avios, and that's their Delta Sky Miles, their measurement of what they use is Avios. So 75,000 Avios after spending $5,000 in the first 3 months. It has a $95 annual fee. Now, that number, as far as 75,000 points for $5,000 in 3 months, is a pretty standard one. They had actually jumped it up to 100,000 points, I think, just recently. But they did not have this multiplier that they're doing now. What they're doing is, with this, you'll get 5x on gas stations, groceries, and dining for the first 12 months, up to $10,000. The other multipliers is 3x on flights with Aer Lingus, British Airways, Iberia, and Qatar Airways, and then 2x on hotels that you book through them. But the key is the 5x. If you are a person that uses Avios or seen the value of it, then this may be something you may want to consider. Now, once again, I had said that for the most part, airline and hotel cards, unless you're getting something for free, like a Hyatt or a Hilton, where you're getting a night free, or an IHG that pays for itself. But I normally don't get these cards too often, at least in the early game, because it's those flexible points that mean more, where you can still transfer to get the Avios or the Skyward miles or whatever it may be. But this is something that is very unique and may be interesting, especially if you've got a short-term plan of where you're going to use Avios. And this would be a quick way to rack them up. Now, there are some differences between these three cards. Um, so each of them have a trigger that if you spend $30,000 on the card, then it unlocks some bonus. So on British Airways, you get a companion, what they call a travel together ticket. Now, it's valid for 2 years, which is good, one. Two, you do have to originate and return to the United States. I've seen that in one place, but I haven't seen it in another. Let me check a little bit more on that. I'm not totally confident of that particular phrase, but I'll put that in my pinned comment at the end of the show in regards to if you do specifically have to do that. I don't believe that's true. I saw it in one place, but I think I read where it's not that case in another. And then you get up to $600. So that's what comes with the 30,000. Now, if you are traveling by yourself, you can get 50% off of your fare. And if you are traveling with somebody, they travel with you in the same classification. So if you're in premium economy and you're getting them premium economy, then that becomes free. So it could be worth a good amount that easily pays for itself. But it is a $30,000 spend. So it really depends on how you fly, if and how much that ticket could be worth to you, but something to consider. So that comes with the 30,000. The rest of it, though, up to $600 in reward flight credit, and that's issued 3 times per year, and it's $100 towards your economy and premium economy tickets, or $200 for your business and first class, and then 10% savings on US to London flights. It's done through a special website that you would get when you get the card. And that 10%, as I've mentioned, especially if you're flying British Airways to London, it is a hefty fuel surcharge. So that 10% kind of helps a little bit, but only a little bit. Iberia, when it comes to the $30,000 spend, what they have is that they will do a $1,000 airfare discount voucher for you to use. And then you get the 10%, and then on top of that, you get 10% savings on the economy and business flights through them. So you can see a pretty big difference between what British Airways offers through their credit card and that $30,000 threshold versus Iberia. Aer Lingus, you do get a companion ticket and you get priority boarding, I believe, when you're going from the United States to Ireland. Very little, though, in regards to it. So I've not really seen where people get, unless you are going to Dublin constantly. But normally what I've seen people do is they get the British Airways card, and then if they are really trying to rack up some Avios for a special trip, I've seen 2 or 3 people that I know do it, where they've gotten more than one of the cards to really almost pay for a whole airfare of a trip that they were taking. So, but if you're going to be interested in this, we don't know the end date, and be aware of what the differences are between those 3, so that you pick the right card for you. As I put in my thoughts, Avios are very valuable points. I put down a couple of notes of where they are easily used, especially here in the United States. Is domestic airlines with domestic on Alaska or American. If it's 1,150 miles or less, then you can be able to do it for 11,000 Avios one way. Off-peak economy from the East Coast, like say DC to Ireland on Aer Lingus, 13,000 Avios. So there's a lot of flexibility, a lot of things, and of course Q suites on Qatar. obviously always works well. So all of those things are things to consider. So I wanted to make sure about that. Now I do want to give a couple of last notes. One is that the video that will be out on Saturday is going to be on the build card, and it's going to talk about the build card, hopefully a little bit different than you may have seen from anyone else. It's really about the non-renters. I'm not a person that rents an apartment. It's a no-brainer for people that rent apartments. But what about people that don't get the rent benefit out of it? Is it a card that's worth it? And so the video I have for that will hopefully help to answer that question for the non-renters out there. But if there's any questions or anything that I can answer in regards to any of this or anything else, definitely feel free to let me know about them. More than happy to answer them. And even if it's not during this live stream, if you put questions or comments in the comment section, I definitely read them all and would be more than happy to answer any questions or anything that you have. Can't thank people enough for once again viewing the content, subscribing and liking. It really means everything. And I just want to continue to just do better as good as I can for each and every one of you. And I see that Mr. Coco was able to share again. Nice big build fan and trying to get into the Alaska environment. Yeah, I only got into the Alaska environment when regards to I got the business card because they were doing the companion pass. And I thought, why not? Now, the only problem for me coming out of the Midwest is there's not a lot of flights from here. So I would have to leave from my state, and I have to go to Seattle pretty much, and then use Seattle to go to other places. So that's kind of where my companion flight problem is. So I've not flown with them yet, but I will be shortly. But the Alaska airline points are pretty valuable. I love having that as an option through Built, and especially that as well as Hyatt. But yes, I am a big Built fan. I hope they keep those promotions going so that we can get full maximization. And I appreciate you watching the Saturday video. Thank you so much for the support, and I hope everybody have a great evening. Thanks so much.